Ireland is no crime, any more than Irish ignorance of Wales and Scotland is. It's just that, in the English case, this ignorance is bought at a price. Ireland has a well-developed habit of making a nuisance of itself in British affairs. Your average Brit need not be alert to this. But the fabled British elite, with centuries of political stability, a parliamentary system admired and copied all over the world, including in Ireland, and a tradition of skilled and sedulous diplomacy behind it, should have known better. So this book is first of all addressed to a British, or more precisely an English readership. It aims to explain the degree of Irish difference, such as carried us out of the United Kingdom a century ago, and latterly made us such a stone in the Brexit shoe. But it also places more emphasis on British imperatives and motives than many Irish writers do. We may be different, but we are still cousins. Irish people need to reflect on the historical and strategic imperatives that drive British indifference towards Ireland. They are not just being bad-minded. So a little mutual knowledge and understanding will cut both ways. That is the primary purpose of this book. When I write Ireland, I generally mean geographically nationalist Ireland. That is roughly coterminous with the territory of the modern Republic of Ireland. I am well aware, who could not be, of the large nationalist minority, perhaps soon to be a demographic majority, in Northern Ireland. There is already a monumental library of history and analysis available on Northern Ireland. I don't think that I have anything useful to add to it. My primary focus, therefore, is on that large chunk of the island, roughly 83% of its total land area, that has left the United Kingdom altogether. I started by asking myself, why are we the only part of the British Isles that has not made some sort of viable accommodation with the other parts? I realised that other accommodations, the Scottish one in particular, are strained and may not hold. But historically, the Scottish Union, even if it is now ailing, has been remarkably successful and durable. Why are we so different? It is an inversion of the normal default setting for Irish thought, for we take the separate nature of independent Ireland as the natural order of things. What if it's not, as appeared to be the case for centuries? By inverting the question, the route to an answer or two may take in some scenic byways. There are a few technical terms, or more properly shorthands, scattered through the text. It is as well to explain them now. Old English, the descendants of the Normans who first arrived here in 1169. Their tribal difference from the Gaelic population, who had been in undisturbed possession of the land for more than a millennium, except for the relatively minor and recent Viking presence, was always acknowledged. But a degree of accommodation between the two tribes softened these boundaries in medieval times. What was far more important was that both Gaels and Hiberno-Normans remained Catholic at the time of the Reformation. So the Old English, as they came to be called, were persons of Hiberno-Norman descent, whose emotional ties to the distant English monarch were stronger than those of the Gaelic lords, but not so strong as to detach them from their confessional allegiance to the Pope. It was their Catholicism, not their tribal ethnicity, that was crucial. New English. A very different kind of beast. These were Elizabethan and Stuart adventurers and conquistadors, bent on a civilizing mission, and possessed of a ruthless hunger for land. They were the backbone of the Dublin Castle colonial administration from the mid-16th century onward. Their land holdings were principally in Leinster and Munster. They were ignorant of Ulster until after the defeat of Hugh O'Neill's Great Rebellion in 1603, and may be thought of separately from the Anglo-Scottish planters, who settled Ulster after the lands of the defeated Gaelic chieftains, O'Neill's allies, had been declared forfeit to the crown. The New English were solidly, indeed stridently, Protestant. They encompassed most tendencies in early Anglicanism, although inclining towards Puritanism. Unlike the Ulster settlers, they had no significant number of Presbyterians. Creoles. This is the term I sometimes use for a later group of settlers. The Old English date from the 12th century, the New English from the 16th. This group, a further influx of English, came to occupy